Let's play a game. Imagine this scenario. So there's a woman and she is in a relationship with a man, and the man isn't very affectionate. He doesn't share how he feels and rarely shares what he thinks. Sometimes he approaches her for intimacy, but then withdraws just as quickly. The woman remains in this relationship open and ready for intimacy. She has empathy for him. She has compassion. She understands that he has been through certain things in his childhood and in his past that make it hard for him to open up and be available. She patiently waits for him to change and open up. Deep in her heart, she hopes that one day he will heal and be able to love her as much as she loves him. Who's the emotionally unavailable one in this scenario? You might think it's obvious, the man, right? Of course, he's the one that's holding back. But in actuality, it's both of them. Let me tell you why. The woman in this scenario is just as emotionally unavailable as the man. If we're with someone who's unavailable, there's a reason. And it's usually because we are afraid of intimacy ourselves. It doesn't seem like it on the surface, right? It seems like a woman who's showing up, ready for love, with empathy and compassion, would be available, right? But if we are staying with someone who is unavailable, then we have our own stuff going on. If we were truly emotionally available, then we would have left this person. Or if they had seemed available from the get-go and then something changed and we continued to stay and wait and hope for things to change, then yeah, we are most likely unavailable as well. If we're staying in a situation like this, we have some fear of intimacy. If we are patiently waiting and waiting and waiting for somebody to open up, it's likely because we have our own stuff going on. Now, I'm not talking about the scenario here where you're just getting to know somebody, you're in the dating phase, and you are waiting for them to open up to you. That's normal. You want somebody to not just dump everything on you the very first time that you meet them. What I'm talking about here is a scenario where you are dating someone for months, for years, and you're still waiting for them to be available to you, for them to open up, for them to be more affectionate, whatever it is that you're looking for from them. This is what I'm talking about. It's normal in the dating phase to not share every single thing about yourself. That's healthy. You want to get to know somebody before you open up. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm also not talking about a scenario where maybe you were with someone for 5 years, 10 years, and they were emotionally available then, but then something happened. Trauma, some big challenge in life, and they became unavailable. This is not the situation I'm talking about either. What I'm talking about here is a scenario where pretty much from the get-go, after those initial dating weeks and months, this person has been unavailable and you stayed. If you recognize yourself in this scenario, don't feel bad. I know that this is a really hard pill to swallow. And for me, as a formerly emotionally unavailable person, it took me years of healing and introspection to really be able to take that truth in and to see my own patterns of avoiding intimacy. I was actually really blind to it. I was the woman in this scenario, showing up with an open heart, thinking that I was the available one and my partner wasn't. And if he could just change and open up to me, then things would be different. But I realized that actually there is a reason I'm with this person who's unavailable. It's because I had other available guys approaching me at that time when I was in the dating world. And I didn't choose them because they made me uncomfortable. I chose the unavailable person because I had my own unavailability. It just looked differently. I was so sure that I was emotionally available, and I really identified with that. And what happened was I actually put myself on a pedestal in comparison to my partner. I saw myself as better because, again, I thought that because I was affectionate, because I was open to share my feelings, that meant that I was available. But like I said, it took me a lot of healing and introspection to see, well, the reason I was able to share so freely is because I was with this unavailable person. Later in my dating life, when I started to date people who were available, it was way harder for me to be open and to be intimate because I was with a person who was bringing that intimacy right back. Once I did a lot of my healing, I was able to be open to that type of a relationship. And that's the type of relationship that I have now. But in my past, oh man, if you were an available person and you approached me, I would actually be turned off. I would be really uncomfortable and I would find a million reasons not to date you. In my mind, I would say I'm not attracted to this person, they don't have this quality, I just don't like this about them. Really, I was scared. With the unavailable guys, that dynamic was comfortable for me. That was my, you could say, like my status quo. And so I was just immediately drawn to men like that, men who were unavailable. And like I said, after I started to do my healing work, slowly it started to dawn on me, oh, crap. I'm unavailable too. I am just as unavailable as these people that I was dating. And I realized my unavailability, it just looks different. It looked different than my partner's unavailability. I was acting like I was available, but the situations I was putting myself in with unavailable people showed the truth. So if you're watching this and you're feeling shame about maybe how you are unavailable or how you were unavailable in the past, there is no judgment here from me, and it is not your fault. You may also be feeling shame about this because you have labeled emotional unavailability as bad, a bad thing. And it really isn't. What we can put it in the category of it's just a maladaptive coping mechanism. It's just something you had to do to survive. There's so many reasons that we can become emotionally unavailable, and most of them have to do with the difficult stuff that we experienced in our childhood. If you've had painful and scary relationship experiences in the past, it's a very normal coping mechanism to become unavailable. So drop the judgment if you're judging yourself about this. There's not something wrong with you. You were responding normally to challenging experiences. The reason I'm sharing this is not to blow up your spot or to cause you to judge yourself. It's so that we can understand the healing path that we need to walk to get to a place where we can let healthy love in. And if we want healthy love, the number one shift we have to make is to learn how to be more emotionally available to the people in our lives. Because ultimately, what I discovered on this healing journey of realizing, I am unavailable too, is this actually gives us so much power. What I'm really talking about here is taking responsibility for our own stuff. When we do that, we realize that we actually have so much control over the outcomes that we're experiencing in relationships. Now, disclaimer here, when I say take responsibility, I will never mean that you are responsible for any abuse or mistreatment that you experienced. That is never the case. If you were with someone who was narcissistic and they were also unavailable, this is not your fault. This is not what I mean by taking responsibility. If you were with someone narcissistic and they were also unavailable, that's a whole different ballgame in my book. I actually put narcissistic abuse in a separate category as being with someone who's unavailable because the advice is very different. I don't give the same advice to someone who is with someone who's unavailable to a person who's in a narcissistically abusive relationship. Different things in my book. What I'm talking about here is realizing that we have so much more power over what happens in our relationships than we realize, because we have the power to do our own work and choose differently. When we see how and why we got into these relationships, that's when we take our power back. We have the choice to heal and become more available, and then to choose different partners. We don't have to stay with the guy who's unavailable and hope and wait for things to change and try to help him to change. Because let's be honest, he probably doesn't want your help. People don't want to be pushed to heal. If you've ever had that done to you, you probably know it doesn't feel good. It doesn't make you want to heal. It feels like they're not accepting you as you are. And that actually pushes people away. So trying to help someone to change, it really doesn't even work anyway. Not unless they really want to and they're asking for your help. We have the choice to leave. In most cases, we have this ability to leave. And this is what can be so healing. We can find someone who is available. Again, we don't have to wait. We can make that choice to have a better relationship experience. Again, we are never responsible for any abuse, any mistreatment that we experienced. But if we want to have healthy love, we do have to heal ourselves and open up our hearts to let that real love in. And what this includes is being with that initial discomfort that's going to come up when you're with someone who is available. What I don't want to see for anyone here is for them to stay in a relationship where someone isn't available to you, you feel lonely, you feel like you don't have any intimacy, and you're just waiting and hoping for that to change. It's the worst. It's absolutely awful. It's so painful. Don't do it. As someone that has been there, I do not recommend that. So how do we do this? How do we actually heal and become available? Well, this is the journey that I take my clients on in my Living Free Finding Love program. Part of what I do is I dive deep into the subconscious of the women that I'm working with, and we release the walls around their heart. If you've ever had the experience of feeling like you literally have walls up, this is what I'm talking about. They're usually very specific energies that are keeping your heart closed. And so I go in there and we release them slowly, little by little, and that opens your heart up to real love. What keeps these walls up are energies from your past, like grief, like abandonment, like shame. All of these things keep you closed to real love and keep those healthy partners away. And I also help you rewire any beliefs that you have subconsciously that make intimacy feel terrifying. Things like, I'm not good enough, or everyone always leaves me. Those are the beliefs that keep us from feeling safe to be ourselves, to open up our hearts to a healthy partner. When you rewire those beliefs, you go from seeing intimacy as a threat to seeing it more like an exciting adventure. Like, yeah, it's unknown, it's a little bit scary, but it's gonna be so fun. Getting into a relationship with someone who is available requires us to be available ourselves. So if you're ready to go on this healing journey, you can work with me. I'm gonna leave the link to the program in the description here. You can check out all the details. And if you already know that this is for you, then click on the link to book a call with me. It's also in the details. And make sure, if you're checking out the details and you're looking at my website, check out my testimonials page. If you're feeling hopeless, like there's no way I'm ever gonna find real love, let my client experiences give you hope. There is hope for healing and change, and you can find healthy love after being unavailable. Is it a hard journey? Yes, but it's totally worth it, I promise you. So now, on the flip side of this, how do you tell if someone you're dating is unavailable? That's what this video is for. And click here to subscribe. I come out with new videos every single week for breaking the cycle of bad relationships and finding real healthy love.